In May 2025, the skies over the line of control lit up with artillery fire. What began as a localized crisis rapidly escalated into a full-scale military conflict between India and Pakistan. India responded with a drastic measure, suspending the 1960 Indus Waters Treaty. By threatening to choke off the river systems that feed Pakistan's agricultural economy, India signaled a willingness to use water itself as a weapon of war. Beijing played an active role in the escalation. Pakistan's military achieved critical successes over India by deploying modern Chinese hardware, specifically using Chengdu J-10C fighter jets to shoot down Indian aircraft. The skies quickly filled with unmanned aerial vehicles, turning a historical rivalry into the first active drone war between two nuclear-armed nations. Within 4 days, the conflict pushed the region to the absolute brink of nuclear war. China's direct technological backing of Pakistan proved that the long-standing India-China rivalry had gone completely active, moving from border standoffs into high-stakes proxy warfare. This volatile proxy fight sits in stark contrast to the way the world usually views the India-China conflict. The traditional narrative focuses here, the line of actual control, a bitterly disputed border in the Himalayas. This data visualization reveals the true scale of militarization. These markers represent 225,000 Indian troops permanently stationed here, specifically focused on deterring Chinese expansion. But plotting the economic data reveals a massive contradiction. This dual-axis chart compares the frequency of border skirmishes with the volume of Indian imports. As military tensions and digital bans on Chinese apps spike, India's reliance on Chinese goods rockets upward. China remains India's absolute largest source of imports. India is caught in a profound strategic trap. It is physically impossible to win a purely military war against the exact country that supplies your own domestic economy. Beijing is actively working to box India in. China's strategy relies on surrounding India geographically by arming proxy forces like Pakistan and investing billions in strategic port infrastructure throughout the Indian Ocean. Compounding this geographic pressure is a historical vulnerability. More than 50% of the Indian military's existing equipment is of Russian origin, highlighted by heavy assets like these S-400 missile transport vehicles. Watching this dynamic unfold, the United States and its Western allies view India as an indispensable swing state. They require New Delhi to act as a bulwark to maintain a stable order in the Indo-Pacific. If India tries to match China missile for missile in a conventional arms race, it will simply be suffocated by Beijing's economic weight and geographic positioning. To break this squeeze, New Delhi relies on a diplomatic maneuver called multi-alignment. Instead of choosing a single superpower bloc to align with, India refuses to pick a side. On one hand, India leans heavily into Western security partnerships. Here, Prime Minister Modi stands with the leaders of the US, Japan, and Australia at the Quad Summit, an alliance explicitly designed to counter China's military and maritime dominance in the Indo-Pacific. Yet, simultaneously, India sits at the table with non-Western groupings. At the BRICS Summit, Modi shares a stage with Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin, openly engaging the very nations the West is attempting to isolate. Maintaining these specific ties allows India to secure highly discounted Russian oil and gas while positioning itself as the leading voice for developing nations in the global south. Multi-alignment functions as a highly aggressive, calculated strategy. New Delhi plays global powers against each other to extract the maximum possible leverage for its own economic and military rise. The most critical battleground for this strategy is the industrial sector, where India practices strict cooperation amid active competition. Despite being known as the pharmacy of the world, India's domestic medical manufacturing relies heavily on foreign inputs. Around 70% of the active pharmaceutical ingredients required for production come directly from China. The energy sector faces a similar reality. India has ambitious renewable energy targets, yet facilities like this sprawling solar farm depend on China for over 60% of their solar cells and modules. India accepts this massive reliance to serve a specific goal. They are deliberately absorbing cheap Chinese raw materials and technological components to rapidly scale their own domestic manufacturing empire, expanding output in smartphones, electric vehicles, and generic medicines. Current economic dependence acts as a calculated, temporary vulnerability. India is actively utilizing China's own supply chains to build the exact industrial capacity required to eventually replace them on the global market. This complex balancing act operates on a razor's edge, constantly threatened by sudden escalations like the May 2025 suspension of the Indus Waters Treaty. When a nation uses vital water resources as a tool for geopolitical manipulation, it guarantees ecological devastation downstream and invites immediate, large-scale military retaliation. One strategic miscalculation in this environment instantly drags the entire region into a catastrophic nuclear confrontation. India's ongoing strategy serves as the ultimate global test case. They are proving it is possible to fight a border war and an aggressive trade war at the exact same time. Historically, nations measured their strength purely by territorial control, defined by infantry pushing across frozen, high-altitude mountain passes. Mastering the silent, interconnected economic war determines the victor of the Asian century long before the first bullets start flying.